Hey, thanks for checking out Fast Eddie's Chop Shop. Here, you have every right to be wrong, and I'm going to break it down for you. Hey, just so everybody knows, when I do these, I freestyle it. I think one time a couple of videos ago I made some notes, but I'm freestyling here. I hope one of the reasons you might listen in is you and I are like each other. We're just normal people trying to live out our lives. All I'm doing is trying to throw some of my thoughts over to you, see what you think, get you to think a little bit. Had someone ask me, well, why don't you put, fancy backgrounds and, you got Tim Pool. He's got his little news thing up, and truthfully, there's I'll never fib to you. There's two reasons I don't. Reason number one is I'm slow to learn all that stuff, and I know it's you can stitch stuff in and all that, but I like keeping it simple. But I also like that if I say something and you ever think I'm full of crap, look it up. It's not that hard, and this is about me and you thinking. I recently went and saw Jordan Peterson, and it's funny. I paid whatever it was, 2 tickets, $100 or whatever, to pay a guy to walk around on the stage and think. He wasn't scripted. Every one of his, I've seen him twice now. Everything's different. He has a theme that he might go over and a general format that he follows, but that guy does not use notes. We're actually paying him to think on stage, to think things through. I mean, half the show he had his eyes closed, walking around thinking to himself, talking out loud. The fix to all of our woes is in thinking. Now we can get into God and following a moral code and all that, but the only way we're going to get there is if we're thinking. And right now, our government and governments do not want you thinking. They don't want you thinking, because thinking people, if more people think in mass, aren't going to stand for this. Everything changed, everything. And if you get that sense that, and I'm sure you do, that I did, again, if you're a thinking normal person, you got a sense that when COVID happened, everything changed. Now, of course, they treated us like we weren't a constitutional republic or democracy. We're a constitutional republic. They took away all of our rights, but only because we allowed them to. We allowed them to take away our rights. That's the only way it can happen. Do me a favor. You can look it up online. It's free. Print it out. Do me a favor. Sorry for the noise, guys. Do me a favor and study the Constitution. Look at the way that it's laid out. You have a right to speak. You have a right to, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. How do you get there? First, you have to have a right to speak, because speaking is thinking. And then they put the Second Amendment into place so that if a government ever became tyrannical and stopped you from thinking, i.e. speaking, you could say and do something about it. But over the years, our politicians have turned that into a thing to protect yourself, a thing to, go hunting. That's not what it's for. It is to protect ourselves for sure, but against a tyrannical government. Now, how do you get a group of free people to obey you like slaves? Real simple. You educate them. You educate them in the direction that you want them to go. You brainwash them. That is what's been going on for decades. Back in, I think it was the 60s, or what did he write it in the 70s? Saul Alinsky, Rules for Radicals. They told us how they were going to do it, and nobody paid attention. You know, when the Schwabs of the world and all the folks going to Davos, they're telling you how they're going to do it, and we're just walking around with our thumbs up our butts, acting like they ain't gonna. Not only they gonna, but they have already started. These are super uber rich, wealthy people who think that you don't know what's best for you. They do. I mean, after all, they were smart enough to make billions. You know, we have to stop putting people on pedestals. I mean, they can be smart. Take Elon Musk, man. My God, no, because he doesn't think the way they want him to think, they don't allow him. They had symposiums on um, saving energy and electric cars, and they don't invite Elon Musk. If I was in charge of the government, I would want Elon Musk on my cabinet. I would want him, if he would allow it, to press a button. He's a phone call away. Get his advice on things. So, yeah, sure, put somebody smart on a pedestal, use them for what they are, which is extremely smart people. And when you get an Einstein / Thomas Edison rolled all into one guy in your generation, when he speaks, shut up and listen. But no, when he speaks, he's thinking and speaking thoughts that are super beneficial for the whole world, but they don't want to listen to him. So, getting back to it, COVID, everything changed. They took away our rights and we allowed them. And then everything started coming into play with identity. And, we got rid of a president that caused no new wars, had a great foreign policy. We were doing great. COVID hit, sure, maneuver some things out, but we got rid of the guy that had our country going in a good direction and didn't do anything that they said that he was going to do. In fact, everything they say that he was going to do, they have done or are doing. How do you know what the some of them, how do you know what the far left is doing? Watch what they're saying that they think you're doing or Trump is doing, or just watch what they accuse you of and us of and Trump of, and you know exactly what they are doing or have already done. If they said that Trump guy, he's crazy, he thinks the sky is green, know this, they think the sky is green. Literally, it's that bad. You can actually, and you know what? I think I'm going to start taking notes. Anytime they accuse someone who's doing good for our country and for our world of something, when they accuse them of something, I'm going to write that down. I'm going to write down who said it. I'm going to write it down. And you watch over 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. Some stuff, it might take a decade. But I'm willing to bet the farm that pretty much 100% of whatever they said turns out they have done or are doing or are planning on doing. It's 100%. There was a guy on the radio in Pittsburgh growing up, Jim Quinn, and he had a saying that liberalism always produces the exact opposite result of its original stated intent. Meaning, you want a war on drugs, drugs get worse. You want a war on poverty, poverty gets worse. And that is true. That's like gravity. Look at California. Look at how many billions of dollars they're putting into homelessness. See, but they're not putting it into homelessness. They're putting it into their own pockets. They're creating cabinets. They're creating posts and positions and jobs for their friends and their family, and they're creating more governments and institutions that are never going to go away. And they are putting that money into their own pockets and ensuring that those institutions that they're creating never go away, and that their friends and their family will always have jobs. Folks, our country has turned into a cesspool. Our country has turned into really, really bad governance. Really bad. And it's frightening, and it didn't happen sooner because they weren't indoctrinating sooner. Just like if you threw an average TV commercial onto the TV back in the 30s or 40s, if you put a Doritos commercial, even just a modern day random pick 10 commercials, I promise at least a few of them would have some stuff where they probably would have mothers would have marched to Washington. Fathers would have been armed in the streets damn near over it, saying, what the heck is going on? But incrementally, they have gotten us warped and used to what they tell us is real. Over time, they have brainwashed us. They have sold the lie that your Doritos taste better because some girl with big boobs is eating them. That your car runs faster because of things like that. They appeal to your most base wants and needs to get you to purchase everything. And believe me, they're selling. When a government official speaks, they're selling you something. The question is, are you going to buy it? And they've spent, again, the last 30, 40 years indoctrinating an entire generation, now going on at least its second generation, I contend, maybe third generation, but two for sure generations are completely enveloped into the lie. That is how they are able to, just like I said, drop a commercial back into the 30s, 40s, drop them to trying to pull a lockdown like they did with the Rona in the 30s or 40s. Not the same result, net result, I promise you. People would have been freaking out against it. They may have had the same, just like you probably did the first couple weeks, what's going on. Everybody can get scared fairly easily, actually. But it is only when you think and you stop listening to what they're selling. So kind of the whole point of my podcast and my show is to get you to think. It's all I want. Please think. If you think and I think and enough of us think, things will get better. But, and I had a podcast about this before, they're teaching kids don't think, feel. So your feelings, and I've said this, get people murdered. Feelings destroy countries. Feelings destroy marriages. Somebody goes to work and the other person at work always looks great, always has nice things to say, and you get the little feeling, and why doesn't my husband or wife do that? And those feelings get you in trouble. Think. See, if I think about it, I know that I'm only dressing up and going to work. And that lady at work who looks really hot is dressing up to go to work too. But guess what? She wakes up in the morning, bad breath, looks awful, just like your wife does. See, if you think it through, you don't let the enemy inside your soul. But they are trying to convince everybody to the path to happiness is through feelings. The path to happiness is through thinking. Sure, it's great to feel, but feelings aside, you must think. So whenever you watch this, please pass it on. If you know anybody who's feeling too much, tell them to watch this. Tell them to, think things through. And maybe, just maybe, if we can get people to stop feeling so much and start thinking a little bit, and stop being razzled dazzled by the cool backgrounds and the the cool graphics with videos, and just stop and listen. And if you don't believe someone, if I'm speaking and you don't believe me, well, go check it out yourself. Find me a liar. Find my idea stupid. Um, but be informed. And I promise you, our world's going to get better if you put down the Spotify for a few minutes every day. That doesn't mean you have to put it away all day, but I call it putting down the Spotify. Put down the video game. Put down the whatever that you lose yourself in, and take just a half hour a day to lose yourself into what's going on, and start listening, and start asking you, why does these people hate, let's say, Trump so badly? What did he do? Well, they said he was a liar, but what did he lie about? And don't go from one person who says, yes, he's a liar, to somebody else who says, yes, he's a liar, and then you think because two people said it, he must be a liar. No. I want you to go to the whatever they said he lied about and dig in and find out if he did. And if he didn't, you must crack that door and let a little bit of light through. Crack it just a little bit and say, you know what? I'm going to research the next thing I say. And if they said a couple of things that's a lie, then you need to officially stop believing the lie, and you need to start believing and looking at the truth. If I'm lying to you ever, and it's not just lying, it's bad ideas, but research. When you go and your college professor tells you that Marxism is great, it's just the right people didn't do it. They didn't do it the right way. Forget about the 150 plus million people that, socialism and Marxism has killed. Forget about the 150 million. But pay attention. Ask yourself questions. If they tell you something that sounds good, think it through. Research it through. Why are those ideas? Here's a better one. When your professor tells you that socialism is so good, and then you research what I just said, that all the socialism and Marxism and all the isms that they've been preaching since Karl Marx has killed over 150 million people. Let's say I'm lying and it's only 90 million people. Ask yourself, let's say it was only 50 million people. Ask yourself, is something that sounds good, yet if you're wrong, as they say, it was just ran wrong, it could be better, what's worse is if you think you could run it better, because you're worse. Same with me. Nobody can run that better. It's way more dangerous if you think that you could do a better job, because you're not just as bad as the next guy, as Stalin, you're probably worse. We all are. That's not a cut on you. That's just human nature. So ask yourself, let's say this is a great idea, socialism. What is it worth it if the next person doesn't get it right, like everybody else didn't get it right? And the answer should be no. All right, guys, Fast Eddie's Chop Shop. Here you have every right to be wrong. Question everything.